Hey everyone, it's Tango Oscar Mike. I got a 3D printer for Christmas. This is the Creality Ender 3 S1 Pro. I got this one because it was pretty much upgraded with everything you would need. There's no, some of the cheaper 3D printers you get, there's a lot of stuff you have to buy to upgrade them to get them up to where they should be. This one pretty much has everything. It had a good reputation. There are faster 3D printers out there, but it's more expensive. I actually bought this on a Black Friday deal. It was actually a really good deal, and I've had it since then. Now, for 3D printing, sorry if you can hear the noise from it, but right now it's printing a screw for a desk clamp cable organizer. But there's a lot of things you can print, and there's a lot of things you can just go out online from printables.com, Thingiverse, Thangs. Is another site you can go and search for objects to print, and that's cool. Here's some of the. This is a just a memory card holder for SD cards and micro SD cards. Printed the screw lid, which actually fits really well. I printed one of Atom K6 ARK's single lever CW keys, which you have to buy some hardware to assemble it, but it actually works really well. It's actually a very neat design kit. I printed a case for my Morserino. Somebody had already designed this. I just went out, downloaded it, and sent it to the printer and told it to print. So there's a lot of things you can print, you can find. But what I really have found to be the benefit of this, and I've printed some wire winders and stuff like that, and you can save money. The material to print these things are pretty cheap, is pretty cheap. Of course, you have the initial cost of the printer, but if I wanted to buy this case or have somebody else print this case and send it to me, there are services that do that. Shapeways is one of the service. This case cost me like $30 some. But I printed it, and it probably cost me a little over $1 in material. Time, the printer runs when I'm not doing anything. Like I said, you have the initial cost of the printer, but that's pretty much it. Now, setting this up isn't quite as easy as taking a inkjet printer out of the box, setting on your desk, and and printing a piece of paper. But it's close. There's a few technical things you have to do. An assembly is pretty easy. The directions weren't great, but it does go together pretty easy. There's only a couple of parts you have to bolt on. You have to bolt on the print head. You have to plug in all the wires, which that was really defined well in the instructions. And you have to assemble this gantry that holds everything together. So it is pretty simple to get going, but what I found is there were some parts that I wanted, but I couldn't find pre-made models for. One of them is the tripod that my camera's on right now. It's a cheap Amazon Basics tripod, and I have an elk antenna, and I wanted to mount the antenna to the tripod. And there's a couple of adapters that people have already modeled, but they wouldn't fit this tripod. This tripod has a 44 millimeter quick release head. Now, one of the adapters online lets you screw in the, into the antenna like you would a camera. I wanted something that would work directly with the quick release plate. So what I did is I started playing with some of the 3D modeling tools online. One of them, the first one being Tinkercad, which is online. It uses shapes, and you try to build your objects. And that is more geared towards education and getting kids involved in designing things. But it's really difficult to design something complex, and I had trouble with it. I tried some other software, and then Atom K6 ARK mentioned it, and I saw some other people mention it. Autodesk Fusion 360 is basically the premier CAD program to run. It's very expensive. It's like $380 a year to use it. But for hobbyists, it's free. You just have to scroll down on the page, and it says, for hobbyists, and you can download it, and it's free. And it's not, I suppose it's not completely full-featured like the full version from what I've read, but I haven't run into any snags yet that wouldn't let me do what I wanted to do. So the first thing I designed is this, and this fits into the quick plate on the tripod, and the elk antenna has a piece of PVC built into the handle, and it slips down over here. Now what I did is I had to do the angling on the bottom. This is hollow down here, and this cylinder, I hollowed it out to save material, and it's on a slight angle. So when you put the other piece of PVC down onto it, as it goes down further, it gets tighter and tighter, so it holds it actually very securely. And I've shared this model and the other model. Now, this is my second, or actually this is probably my third or fourth rendition of this. It's only the second one that I took the time to really fully print out. And this took a couple of hours to print, believe it or not. That's one thing about 3D printers. It's a hobby of patience. You have to be patient. If you try to speed things up, in my opinion, it just causes more problems. So you just have to be patient. Let it run overnight. You do want to keep an eye on it when you're doing prints, but I've felt confident enough. I've been doing quite a few prints now that I've actually let prints run overnight. I have had prints explode, basically just completely mess up and have a pile of filament, big spaghetti here on the bed, but that's been rare, and it's mostly been with the harder materials, which is this is PETG. It's a harder material, it requires higher temperatures, and it's just a little bit trickier to print with, but this printed out good, but there was some warping from heat in the bottom base, but it still works great. It hasn't been a problem, but this is a really strong material. You really can't squeeze it too much. But yeah, but this is just PLA. This printer came with a couple of rolls of free PLA, and it's printing, and it's still pretty sturdy for most of the stuff you'll print. PETG is just better for UV protection and thermal protection, where this, if you took this out and outside, it would degrade. If you left it on the dash of your car, for example, it would probably warp, where this is less prone to that happening. So I printed this, and this works so well. I have a fiberglass push-up mast that I have put the elk antenna on top before, and I literally almost pretty much duct taped it to the top of the mast to get it up there and hold it. Well, I made another adapter, and that was this one. This is the same thing. It's kind of this cylinder, that similar shape. It's tapered, so when you push the antenna down on top of it, it locks. But there's a hole in here. It's a 3/4 inch hole. So it goes over the top of my mast, and then I put this little screw in here to tighten it down so it doesn't spin when it's up on top of the mast. And this actually worked really well too. The first screw I made didn't have these little wings on it, so it was actually really hard to turn with your hand. It wasn't super hard, but it was kind of a pain, so I put these, redesigned it and put these little wings on it to make the nut easier to turn in my hand. But yeah, this works really good too. So that is the practicality and where the real benefit of 3D printing is. In this day and age with supply shortages and everything else, if something broke that's plastic, that's broke, and you had the original item that you could measure and copy, kind of like I did with the original quick release plate that was on the tripod, you can measure, copy it, put it in a CAD program and design your own or copy it. For Autodesk Fusion 360, I went on to YouTube, and there's tons of tutorials and little help guides to help you do various things. Believe it or not, putting threads through this hole and making a screw that fit this was actually pretty easy to do. I mean, this is a pretty basic shape, but it serves a really good purpose for me, and that's the benefit. But if you had some plastic toy or something, or some plastic device, a case that broke, you could mimic that case in a CAD program and print out your own version of it. And that to me is the real benefit of 3D printing. So I just wanted to show that and show how much how beneficial 3D printing really could be. Atom K6 ARKs, this little single lever paddle, that Adam designed and shared his design online for free. You do have to buy some parts. You need some very small bolts to go together. You need the jack that's in here for the stereo cable. You need a stereo cable. But, excuse me. But with all those parts, if you have those little parts or you go out and order them online, if you on Amazon, you can only buy this kind of stuff in bulk. So I actually ordered what I needed in bulk, and it was about $38 total for everything I needed to the hardware to assemble this. But I can build multiple of these, so I'll have spares, and I can put one in every kit if I want to. But as a club, say you had a club and you wanted to do this as a club build, you could print these out and share them. And that's pretty cheap. This probably came out to a couple of dollars to make this in individual parts and material. Oh, my print's done. And you can't find a Morse code key cheaper than that, than a couple of dollars. I do have a Morse code key from US Morse. It's 3D printed. I think the base unit is about $40, and it works really well. It's the one I have is a double lever paddle, and I wanted to try a single lever, so I printed Adams out, and it worked really well. I actually kind of like it. I'll probably be using this for a while, and it's even smaller than the other one, so this could very easily fit into a kit somewhere. Again, this is pretty strong plastic. You're not going to crush this or break this pretty, easily. And there's really nothing to it. There's not a lot to get broke. There's no moving. This part actually flexes. There's no bearing or moving. The plastic just bends a little bit and lets you do your keying. So works really good, and you can save a lot of money. So for clubs, if you have a club and you had a clubhouse where you have room to put a 3D printer, I would recommend it. There's a lot of little things you can print. You can print insulators for wires. You can print boxes to hold your toroids or your projects. There's just a lot out there that is very practical. And if you do a lot of that stuff with Raspberry Pis and all that stuff, you can print Raspberry Pi cases and everything else. And like I said, the material is fairly cheap. So, but yeah, that's my spin on my talk. The other guys, the other YouTubers, some of them have designed antennas and had them 3D printed, and they're selling them. You can do it yourself. If you have that notion and you want to take some time to learn a little CAD, it took me a couple of hours to learn enough CAD to be able to draw these two things and, print them out. And to me, that was worth it, because it's not just a cost thing. Nobody makes this. I couldn't buy this anywhere, but yet I was able to make my own. So I think that's pretty spectacular. And I think, 3D printing, as technology advances, they're printing in metal now. They're using powdered metal, and they're printing in powdered metal. I think you're going to see 3D printing become more and more common. And it's really been pretty easy. I hesitated to get a 3D printer because I've seen videos on people having, nightmares and having trouble scraping stuff off the bed of the printer. This print just finished, as you saw. To get this part off, oh, it's on there. A little twist and it comes right off. So, and this is near perfect. That is a screw. Like I said, this is for a desk clamp cable organizer that I'm going to print, and now I need to tell it to print the other part of it. But yeah, let me show you how these work with the antenna. So I'm out in the garage. This is my mast that I mount in a trailer hitch on the back of my truck. It's just a guy ring that I never use, but basically it has a little lock plate, and you extend this up. But it works really well. I've had it for a while. It's about 25 feet tall. Lights. Okay, motion light goes off like in seconds. But anyhow, this slips off. You gotta make sure my little plastic screw is out. Slip this down over the top, tighten it down. It doesn't take much. This is the elk antenna. This is exactly how it comes. And it comes with this little piece of PVC. And this is literally to slip over a piece of PVC pipe so you can put it up in the air. But with the mast, like I said, I tapered this so as it goes down, it gets nice and tight. And it's on, hopefully you can see the whole thing. So it's on here. Now, there is a 2-meter simplex contest tonight, and I'm probably going to go outside and operate it. It's from like 7 to 11 p.m. It's a local event. And because this is just PVC and it's not super tight, I can just rotate this down. So now I've got my adapter and I'm vertically polarized for the event. And if I try to twist this, it will twist a little bit, but I can push it down harder and it will lock into place. And I don't think that's going to turn in the wind very much. So I think this is going to work good, and I'll be able to use the strong arm method rotation with this during the contest tonight. So I'm actually looking forward to it, and we'll give it a shot. So let me take this off of here. Let me set this off to the side. Let me grab the camera off of here. So I'm just taking the camera off the quick shoe that's there. And where did I set? Oh, it's in my pocket. So this is the piece I made. It basically goes in like this, tips down, you flip the lever, it locks into place. And again, I can take the elk antenna, slip it over and push it down, and the antenna is now on the tripod. So, but yeah, it's not on there super tight, and I don't think it has to be. It's just tight enough so it's not going to fall off if I rotate it up or rotate it down. The antenna is not going to fall off. It'll twist, like I said, but I can press it down harder, but I'm not going to. I don't need to. I could change the sizing of that, but for most of the time, you're not going to leave this sitting out by itself. If you're in heavy wind, the tripod's probably going to blow over anyhow. But for what I do, for what I wanted, it's going to work, and I'm going to be using it. I can use this to make satellite contacts if I want to. I can put it in a direction. I can even rotate it if I need to while I'm trying to make that satellite contact. You know, keep my angle, rotate it. And yeah, so that's it. And again, 3D printing. It's pretty cool. There's a lot you can do with it, and not just printing little toys and gizmos and stuff like that. You can actually get some real use out of it. And yeah, I'm excited to learn some more CAD and see what else I can design. I don't think I'll ever be as good as Adam K6ARK, but hey, I can do my own. So I'll leave a link to these models if you have an elk antenna and you have one of these tripods or a mast. I'll put a link, stupid link. I'll put a link to the models down below, and also put a link to Adam's model, along with some other 3D printing websites where you can find other things. You can pretty much search for anything and print it out. And if you can't, Autodesk Fusion 360 is the way to go. I wouldn't even mess with Tinkercad. It's for kids, and designing a part like these was so much easier in Autodesk than it was in Tinkercad. So, hey, this is Tango Oscar Mike 73. I hope you enjoyed the video. 73, take care. And if you do some 3D printing or you've designed something, please leave it in the comments. You know, I think with 3D printing, it's just like ham radio. It's a community, and you can share stuff, and everybody benefits from it. This is Tango Oscar Mike 73. Take care.
Tango Oscar Mike.